download the Mendeley desktop. Click on this download.
Okay, so I'm using my phone, so I'm not getting the same interface as you.
Oh, yeah, you have to. We are downloading the desktop application. So when with what you're trying to do, you can use Mendeley online also. So what you have to do if you are using your phone is to go to create account. Straight, you go
Okay.
to create account and then fill in the details. And then you log in and you can have access to Mendeley in the cloud. Mendeley give you two options. Everything that you install on your desktop, all the papers you load in your desktop, automatically you can update them and everything will load in the cloud. So if I change PCs and I get a different laptop or a different desktop and I install Mendeley again, it automatically pulls down all the papers I've already loaded in my interface. So for instance, I'm using a new machine today and I just install Mendeley. And once I log in, everything that I have comes into my desktop. So follow the steps. Let me search for the link. I will share the link with you, and it's a comprehensive link that will guide you through how to install Mendeley. And so let everybody get Mendeley because I'm going to use Mendeley to do some quick illustration. So everyone try, if you don't have it, get it on your desktop. Take this opportunity, 5 minutes, get Mendeley installed on your desktop, on your laptop, and get ready. For 5 minutes, try to configure your Mendeley, create the account, and get ready. Are we all set? Can we proceed? Do we all have the installation completed?
Okay, so I have also done it, but I'm not getting the same screen as you are getting, but I've been able to set up, create an account.
Okay. So have you been able to log into it?
Yes, please. I've been able to log into it.
Good. Is it a web login or is it desktop login? That will help me to. So if you log in the web, it's different. I'm logging in from the desktop. So I've downloaded the Mendeley desktop and I'm logging in from Mendeley desktop. So when you log in for the first time, you might not have all these papers. Let me share my Mendeley screen. When you log in for the first time, you will not have all these papers listed here because you don't have any papers in your Mendeley yet. But then we can start adding references. We can start adding papers into the Mendeley. Okay, so let's assume that I'm assuming that we've all been able to log into our Mendeley account. The first thing I advise you do is organization. Anytime you are doing a research, do your best to organize your document, especially when you are dealing with systematic literature review or any publication at all. It is very good for you to start with organization of your document. So the first thing you have to do is to create a folder in your Mendeley. So here, scroll to the left bar. I think even at file, we can do that. But let me use the simplest way I like doing that. So just scroll to the left bar and then come here and click on create collections. And remember that you can create a group document also and share with other people. So if you are doing a collaborative research, for example, if you are doing a research and you want me to be part of it and you want to share your reference collection with me, you can create it under the group. So you have two options, group and then individual. So click here and type the name of the folder. So you are creating a folder and you are giving the folder a name. So for example, if this studies is a systematic literature review on AI application in education, I can give it a name like, for instance, AI application in education. And then you click on that. Now the folder is nicely created. Open the folder, you will see that it's empty. Mendeley gives you so many opportunities to import documentation or import document into your reference folder or into your folder. You can drag and drop. If I have the paper on a desktop, I can just drag and drop the paper. Let me illustrate that. Let me go to Google Scholar and get one paper. So everybody go to Google Scholar, download one paper, and let's use it for that. So I want to get a paper from Google Scholar, and then I will use that for the illustration. So let me say AI and education. So I want to download one paper on my desktop and bring it into my environment. And then we use other approach also to do that. To download a paper, and then we'll load the paper. So I'm downloading one paper, fresh paper. I just want to get a new paper online and use that for the illustration.
Okay, so are you able to create a account with my mobile app? I'm not able to do so. I don't know.
You have to you should be able to create the account from the web page, and then you can log in with your mobile. You can log in from your mobile app. So you have to create an account from the web page and log in from your mobile app. Yeah. So now I will look for my document. So let's see. I go to my desktop and locate my document wherever it is online. I just downloaded one. And drag it into my Mendeley interface. So I'm dragging it and I'm going to put it in there. Now Mendeley loads it, and now you can see that I have one document in my folder. the next thing that you have to do is that Mendeley is using pre-written codes to give you the citation details. And recently, they've introduced AI assistants into their interface. So I can use this AI bot to ask any question with regard to this paper. And I'll show you how we can use this one to do the quality check questions, which is very easy using the bot. But for now, click on this, the work, and check everything to see. Okay, so you should have your article here. You should be able to read your article. See the authors. It's extracted for you by Mendeley. The source is extracted, and you can make notes. Use Mendeley to make notes, make annotations on everything that you are reading. And you can check the filters, the tag, and everything that you see. You can click here and expand the view if you want, expanded view. If you want full view, if you want manage columns, if you want to manage how all these are shown. So you can see the title, the author's details is here. You can rearrange all these things based on what you want to do. Okay, so that is the first phase of one of the ways of bringing in document into Mendeley. Let's see what other ways we can bring in document into Mendeley. Other ways we can do that is also going to file. No, the edit. Let me see. Choose manager. Wait. Oh, so here the button is here. They've changed it. At first, it was part of the menu, but now you can click on add reference here, and you can straight import the reference from a computer. If you have all the papers downloaded in one folder, you can bring everything here. You can import also from another library. If you have them in big text, you have them from EndNote, and then you can set up watch folder where you synchronize the, you create a folder and then synchronize it with Mendeley so that anytime you download something into that folder, Mendeley automatically brings it in. Then manually create a reference with PDF. So here, manual. Now, this is what I want you to get. Sometimes some of the papers, you might not be able to get them if your institution doesn't have a subscription. So you can also use the DOI of the paper and pull it in. So let's go back online. Let me show you something. Let's go back to Google Scholar, and I'm going to copy a paper DOI, and then I'm going to bring it into Mendeley. So I'm going online to copy a paper's DOI. I have a DOI here. Let me copy this DOI. And one good thing about Mendeley is that once you install it, anytime you are downloading a paper from Scopus, it will give you the opportunity directly to import it into Mendeley. So I copy the DOI and I paste it here, and I click on search, and Mendeley will automatically retrieve the details for me. So I don't need to fill in the details. The only thing I need is if I want to add the abstract, I can go and borrow that abstract and put it. So it doesn't pull the abstract, it pulls what you need for your reference list. So I can paste it here and that. So advise that don't be doing manual referencing. Use reference managers. It's very important. They will help you keep track. you can always change the reference style. For example, if you use APA and you want to send your paper to a journal and the journal says, I want IEEE, you don't need to come and go through all your papers and change them manually, which is very tedious. You can do that. But let's say if you are working with reference like 150 reference list, very tedious. With Mendeley, it's just a click of a button and then it can easily change all the reference for you. So that is that with the Mendeley. Then one thing again, if you go to tools, check for duplicate. Remember that we said that when reviewing the paper, you have to check for duplicate downloads or papers that are duplicated. With Mendeley, you can easily do that. If I go to my reference list here, I have so many references. If I go to this and I come here and I come and ask Mendeley to check for duplicate, it will automatically see it is pointing out all the duplicates in my reference list. So this and that duplicate, that and that duplicate. So there are so many duplicates and Mendeley can image them all for me. So assuming that I downloaded a total of 250 papers, and then I use this approach to find out how many papers have I duplicated. Then with Mendeley, it tells me that I see 11 set of duplications. So when I'm recording my paper, when I'm recording the process, remember that when you are using the Prisma diagram to record everything, you have to state if there were duplications. So in this way, I will say that there were 11 duplications. And then I'll ask Mendeley to merge all these duplications, or I can delete them outright from my list. So if you select here, you go to action, Mendeley will say, keep this reference only or move to what? To trash. So we can trash all the duplicates and maintain one copy. So that is that for Mendeley. Any question on the Mendeley? Then I move ahead. Can I move?
Oh, no. Oh, nope. Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So now let's move on to. So now we all know how to import our papers into Mendeley. We know how to remove duplicates if they are duplicates, and then also to install the web importer and then Microsoft Reference Manager, where it will help us to insert reference direct into our Microsoft Word. So now let's move on to the quality check. Now you have to assure your readers that you did a quality check of the papers. There are so many papers, but you did a quality check. We have applied a Prisma diagram to go through to see papers that were removed based on our exclusion criteria. But we can go further and do further tests using different tools. There are several tools that you can use to do your quality check. We can use the crunch risks of bias. We can use the critical appraisal skills program. That's a checklist. And then we can also use the measurement to assess what's. So all these are various tools that you can use to assess your paper's quality, the papers that you included in your work, the quality of those papers. Because even though you have set down the criteria that you excluded papers that probably were published, not in English, papers that were published before certain dates, papers that were indexed in journal. How did you assess the quality of the papers themselves? Those criteria were for you to include the paper, but how do you assess that this paper is quality? So you need to also document how you did that. And you can use some of these tools. I've put here for you a simple check tool that you can design. And you have to report this also in your work. So for example, if I want to see if a paper is quality or not, I say, okay, I will check one to see if the paper has what? The study has what? clear research what? Questions or objective. It is clearly stated. So I can go to Mendeley. This is where the Mendeley AI can help you reduce the tax on you. So if I come here, I can ask the AI assistant and I can say, are the objective or research questions clearly stated in this paper? So you see, it is pointing out the main objective was the main objective of this study was to assess the impact of artificial intelligence on education. The study took a qualitative approach, leveraging a literature review to examine how AI. So you see that I can ask what page of the paper so that I can go there and then annotate the place, highlight it, make sure it has met the first criteria. Then I come to the second criteria again.
Please, we didn't see what you were doing. If you can.
Oh, because I've been switching, sorry, I've been switching screens. Where's Mendeley? Sorry. Yeah, thank you. So I came to Mendeley here and I asked Mendeley AI a question that I'm checking through the quality of all the papers. And as researchers, we have set some quality metrics that the papers should meet. And the first quality metrics is that we want to be sure that for every paper, the research question or research objective is clearly stated. You know, your inclusion criteria, the first one, a paper can meet all those inclusion criteria, but probably the research objective is not clearly. So we have to use another quality check metrics. And one of the check metrics is that we want to be sure that every paper has its objective or research question clearly stated. So when I come to Mendeley, let me copy my question so that I don't type it again. I come to Mendeley, I click on my paper, and I go to AI Assistant, and I type my question here. I'm using it to help me review this quick because I've not started reading the papers. These are just quality checks I'm doing. So I want to be, before I start reading the papers, I want to make sure the paper have met every quality check that I lay down. So this is the first approach. Just type there, ask the AI tool and ask, are the objectives or research questions clearly stated in this paper? And it confirmed that they are clearly stated. If you want to know which page, we can further ask, can you tell me the page? Or we can say, which page specifically? And it should be able to tell us the page. Oh, it says that my query is too low because I have to update it again with this, which I'm coming. Let me update it to tell me which specific page these were stated. So, which page in this paper was the objective of their study stated? And I think now it should be able to tell us. Oh, it can't tell us the page, so no problem. It can tell us that it is, but I think the two cannot tell us the specific page. So at least it has been able to tell us that the objective have been stated. So when we read, we'll confirm that objective. Then we can go to quality check 2. So make sure you check all the qualities, every paper. And remember that you're going to share this quality check with your readers in your paper. So if you didn't do it, somebody will check, the reviewer will tell you that, hey, you said you're going to do this. I checked through your papers and I see that some of your papers did not meet this quality. So please don't just write them. Don't just use AI tools to write anything without you doing it. It's very important that you have to do. So now the next one is what? Appropriate study design. Is the research design suitable for the question? So we are asking that based on the objective that was set or the questions that was set in that particular paper, was the research design suitable for it? And if we ask, it will tell us we can know. Then we come sample size justification. So if it is a literature review, what was the number of papers that were included in the study? And what if it is not literature review and probably the sample size was probably to survey, let's say, AI effectiveness in, let's say, university education, and the person is using the case study. Was it only one university that a person did the survey, or two or three? Because you cannot do just a survey in one university and make the case to be what? You can't generalize your findings. So next, we can ask another question like this. Another quality check question that we can ask is data collection method. Are the data collection methods well explained? Did the researcher explain well, detail how they collected their data for the study? So if it is a literature review, how was the papers downloaded? What source did they download? Where were they? What was the inclusion and exclusion criteria? You want to find out if the research isn't biased, because you don't want to, talk about a paper that is biased. So all this quality check must be fulfilled. So you have to run through all this quality check, and you have to share this quality check with what? Your readers. So if not all, pick the ones that you think best fit for your studies and do the quality check. So this quality check must be checked. And the reason why you're checking this is to ensure that the papers meet quality. Are we there? Okay. So now that we've done all the quality check and everything, now we begin to screen. Now we are going to read the papers. So look at the abstract. First, look at all the titles of the paper. First, look at the title. Do you see anything fishy in the title? Do you see anything in the title that is not closely related with your research topic? For example, some of the papers might be literature review. You need to note them. Then after you have looked through the titles, the next phase of the screening is to do a quick read of the abstract. Every good paper should have an abstract that gives you the overall presentation in the paper. An abstract should start from the introduction, the problem statement, the methodology, the results, and conclusions. So if you read the abstract and you see that, oh, how the abstract is written, I don't think it meets a good paper, because the abstract itself does not follow the structure of an abstract. You can decide to redo those papers. So all this can be done. And then remember to remove duplication, overlapping. And when you are done with everything, we move to the next step. We need to extract the data, right? So to extract the data, when we put the data in our Mendeley, we can extract the data as a CSV file for reference so that we can send it to Excel to count the papers, to know how many papers were published in this year, how many papers use this method. So let's move on to the extraction. Please, if you have any question, feel free and shoot up your hand or put it in the chat. So let's move straight to the extraction. So now we've done all the quality checks of our papers. We've done all the papers meet all the criteria that we've defined. All the papers meet the quality list that we've outlined. So now we are moving straight to what? Extracting the features and doing what? The analysis. Now, if you are doing the paper with a colleague or with a friend, it is very important that before you go to the extraction, you give the reference that you have decided to include, the eligible reference. You give it to your colleague for the colleague to also to go through, apply all the what inclusion and exclusion criteria, and also the quality check metrics to ensure that indeed those papers meet quality. And it also ensure consistency. So you can add this also in your write-up. Remember that whatever you are doing, you have to document them, because all what we are doing forms part of the methodology in a systematic literature review. So all the screening, all the quality we are doing, you document all this and you write it in your what? Methodology. So let's move straight to the analysis. So what can we analyze in the paper? The analysis will be based on our what? Research questions and our what? Objectives. But in brief, let's see some of the analysis. We can do what we call the trend and what? Geographical analysis. So we can do trend analysis. What has been the trend in the publication in this area over the years? How many papers were published in this year vis-a-vis the number of papers that were published in this year? So for example, let's look at this trend. In this study that we did, we decided to include papers that were published from 2006 to 2020. So for here, you can see that in 2006, these were the number of papers. 2018, 2010, 2012, you can see that these have been the publication. Now, this is just a result. You have to explain. You have to what? Explain. Why is the increase of publication higher from, if you look at the graph, the surge started from 2016 to 2020. Why do we have a surge in population and publication in this area? This particular studies was AI in education. So if you look at it, you know that application technology in education, like online learning, different edutech classrooms and all those things became popular in the time of COVID-19. It was in use, but it was there, but most institutions were not using technology like online studies, like Moodle, and then Canvas, and all those technologies in education. But when the COVID-19 hit hard, we all went online. So every institution decided to what? To incorporate technology in the education. So there's no, this confirms why you can see that the surge of what? Technology, and then AI, machine learning, and all those things in education, publication went high. Because at that point, everybody was looking for ways and means to what? To continue education in the midst of the pandemic. So you have to explain. So after you have the graph, you have to ask yourself questions. Why is this happening? Why do we have a surge? Then go back online, read what happened within those years in that field. So were there any tragedies? Were there any economical what? Development? As a researcher, you need to, you don't just plot the graph. So I see a lot of people and they'll tell you, this shows the trend of publication in the field of this. And so what? Why do we have a surge here? Why did we have a surge here and it dropped down again? These are questions that you need to what? Find answers to and add it in your results and analysis. That's what we call the results discussion. So after you present your results, discuss it. Let us know why we have those things. So we can also decide to plot, for example, country-wise publications. So if you look at all the papers, you will find out where the authors are being affiliated. Are they affiliating with which country? So at the end of the day, we can know which country is leading in the publication in this area. It's very important. So you can decide to do a country-wise analysis. Also, you can decide to do a publication house. So this graph shows the publication house. So the question you ask yourself, which publication house is producing more papers in terms of your research area. And you can get this based, if you look at Mendeley, it tells you which journal the paper was published in and which publication house. Is it coming from IEEE? Is it coming from Elsevier? Is it coming from ACM? All those things. It will help us to know. And then you can ask yourself, why are we getting more papers in that area? Why are people sending their papers in ACM? Why are people publishing their papers in education with, how do you call it, Elsevier? Try to find out. Don't just present the results as it is. It is very important. So you can do a trend analysis. You can do a geographical analysis also. So these are all the analysis you can do. Remember, these are all quantitative analysis that you can do on your paper. So when you extract your data, you are extracting the affiliation of the authors. It can be the school, it can be the country, it can also, you can also affiliate in the journals that they publish in, and also the publication house that the journals also publish in. Then we go to what? So here is the journal. So you do the journal analysis. So the journal, how many, if, like, for example, in this paper, we included journal, we included conference, we included book and chapters, and we also included work in progress. So you have to extract. And if you go to your Mendeley, you will know whether the paper is a journal paper or it's a conference paper. It will tell you the source. Let's go to Mendeley and I'll show you something. I'll take one of the paper as a case study in Mendeley. Where's Mendeley? Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the paper that we download. Now you can see that the source, Mendeley has the source here. The source is what? IEEE Access. That is the journal name. So this paper was published in IEEE Access. And if I open the paper to read, so the paper is IEEE Access. The paper, the published, the journal is IEEE Access. The publication house is IEEE. Then when you look through, you will see the affiliation of what? The authors. You will see the affiliation. Look at it. The first, look at the authors. The first author is from China, second author, China, third author, China. So if I want to know the country of affiliation, it is China. Right? Okay, so these are some of the features you can extract in your paper to make the analysis. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. If you have any question, please feel free and then ask. So you can make this table also, yes, to tell your readers how many percentage were from here and how many percentage were journal, were conference, and that. It is also. Then the next one, you can do methodology analysis. Analyze the methodology employed in the papers that you retrieve. So, for example, I'm looking at AI application. One, I want to know which specific AI method or machine learning method did they use in their work. If they did applied predictive analytics, I want to know which method. So I will list all the method in every paper and I keep on counting. So if paper 1 use, let's say SVM, and paper 2 use DT, so DT has 1, SVM has 1. I'll keep on counting all of this and I'll use it to plot a graph. Now, when I plot a graph, I'm not done. The question is, why are these people using this particular metric, this particular algorithm, and not the algorithm? So, for example, if I see that all the data sets that most of them used is a label data, then of course, if I see most of them using a classification algorithm, then it corresponds. That is why. So I can say that most of the studies adopted classification algorithm such as this and that because most of the data set that they use were maybe publicly available data set that are classification data set. So we want to know why are they using it. It will help you to know which algorithm is frequently used in the field that you want to analyze. So if I know that they are using this type of algorithm, highly used, but this is lessly used, I can ask myself, why is this one scarcely used in this area? Probably that algorithm is being used in different areas, but this area, it has less been used. It gives me a research to probe into that. So all the plot and all the analysis you do have to give you what? A question to think about it. So don't just plot the analysis and put it. Now, what evaluation? How did they evaluate their model? So if you see this graph here, this graph is talking about how the evaluation were done. We want to know, did they use accuracy? Was it F1 score? How did they, what method? So you have to do a plot. You have to list all the method. Why am I doing so? I want to be able to tell you that most of the studies in this area, if you look at this graph, it tells you that most of the studies in this particular area that we surveyed were using classification, because the common metrics they use was what? Accuracy. And we all know that accuracy metrics in machine learning models is for what? Classification. So if I come back here and I see that most of your models are what? Regression, then I'll ask myself, did this guy do the work? How can he say that most of the models that were used were regression, but the evaluation metrics were accuracy? So all these you have to explain, right? Hello? Are we there? Any question, please?
Yes, please, we are around.
Now, what platform? So you can do more platform here. So these are all answering questions. This will give opportunity, several areas for you to do your research. So for this, this paper was big data analytics. So we're looking at big data analytics, ML application in big data analytics. So we wanted to find out which platform is most commonly used for big data analytics. So all the papers that were doing big data analytics, what platform were they using? And from here, you can see that the most used platform was what? Apache, what? Spark and Hadoop. So less of these platforms has been investigated. People don't use it. Why are they not using it? What is the issue? We can probe into that. When you read the paper I share with you, you will know some of this probing that we did. Then you can do furthermore to use what frameworks did they use in the analysis. So here, if you look at the framework, you can see that the most common framework that they use were Theano, Keras, Torch, Scikit-learn. So all these are the most common softwares or frameworks that they were using for analyzing their works. So all these, we extract this way. So as you are reading the paper, you are extracting all these points. So most studies, I see people, they just tell you the graph of the number of papers and they don't extract other details. You need to extract other details. For example, I did another literature review that was looking at, I extracted the number of data sets, the size of the data set that those people use in their modeling. Because I just want to know, I just want to give it out, because remember that a literature review, when somebody pick your literature review, the person should have a general knowledge around that area, because you go into deeper details, trying to point out anything that you see. Then you can go further and also do what we call a pictorial plot of the commonly terminologies or keywords. So here, it gives us the common plot. If you look at this plot here, it is giving us the common terminology of keywords. So how did we do this one? You copy all the keywords in the papers that you have included in your study, and then you plot a word plot of it. And this, you can do it easily with what we call word cloud. How many of us have heard word cloud before? Word cloud is a very simple application. You don't need any programming skills to do that. Just go online, go to word cloud, and then plot it. I'll share the link with you, and you can go and play with it just paste in your text. It will generate a plot for you. I'm putting the link here to word cloud. If you know how to code in Python also, you can use that one. So this, anybody that see this tells you that the most commonly keyword that are used in publications in this area was what? Machine learning, manufacturing. This paper we're looking at, this particular plot, come from one of my papers that will look at AI application in manufacturing. So most of the keywords were manufacturing, engineering. You can see it here. Then what future did if you are looking at, for example, AI? I'm using AI because I'm most of my background, my research interest in AI and machine learning. So most of the papers you see me doing literature review go in this area. So you can further to look at what type of machine learning task was completed. Was it classification? Was it regression? Was it clustering? Was it feature? Did they apply just feature extraction method? Did they extracted just some features? That's all. Was it a mixed task? All these will let me know and ask question: why are people doing classification but not regression in this area? What is the case with regression? What is the case with what classification? Why are they not using mixed methods? So all these are extraction that you can extract and you can ask more questions. Also, you can give a summary of the papers reviewed. For example, here, I pick some of the papers and then I give their what? Objective of the paper and the data size they use. Very important. The paper, the data size, the paper, the data size, the paper, the data size. So try to point out what were the objective of all the papers that were included in my study. Then when you are done with this quantitative analysis, you move to qualitative. This is where you are doing content analysis of the paper. So the first we just did, they are just somebody says it's finding difficult to open the attendance list. I think Professor Doka is online. He will help.
Yes, I'm working on it.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Yeah. So the next thing is that do content analysis. So all the other things that we've done so far, they are just what? Qualitative analysis, counting, finding a percentage, explaining. Now we are reading the paper itself. We are doing content analysis of the paper. So in doing the content analysis, what can you do? You can identify common thematic areas or themes, topics, right? And then you can categorize these papers based on their primary focus to review them. So, for example, if you say AI application education is broad, but then we can group them. People that look at AI application in assessing student assessment, others that also look at grading, others that also look at syllabus development. So the next is try to find the thematic areas. Do what we call thematic analysis. Do the theme and classify the theme. So based on what you are doing, get the themes that you want to analyze. So for example, we can say AI for personal learning, papers that were in AI for personal learning, papers that were in AI for feedback assessment, papers that were in AI for ethical ethical concern education. So this is where you are grouping the paper. Why are you doing this? It will help you to know where has been the concentration of research in the field of AI application, so that you know the gap. Remember that when it comes to research, even you identifying that much has been done here, less has been done there, it's a gap. Because where less has been done, calls for we looking into it. So that is what you have to do. Then also, you can also decide to do maybe papers that look at what? AI in pedagogical and teaching methods. Papers that look like AI education, assessment, and evaluation. So now pick all the papers and begin to group them, and then you can review totally what each of these people did in those areas. Very important. So this is something I have to do. I will show you. You can also look at papers that apply natural language programming. So all these are areas that you can look at, and we are taking this because from day one, the example I used was AI application in education. Don't forget the research questions that we framed. So all these are something you can do. Then, if you are somebody like me who always want to use what pictorial view to explain what you are doing, you can plot a graph to help. You can use what? A graph or a flow chart. So this is how, for this particular studies that we did, this is how I clustered the papers. So when I pick the paper, first I look at what machine learning task or learning algorithm. Was it a supervised? Was it unsupervised, semi-supervised? Then I come, what was the task? If it is supervised, semi-supervised, I come again, another classification. Was it a classification, regression, clustering, blah? Then I come, what specific application? So was it in student assessment? Was it in course content development? What is it? I come again, did they split their data? Some of them don't do split data. They use cross-validation approach. So they use all the data and apply cross-validation approach, the evaluation metrics. So this will help my readers know how I classified my papers. And then based on my classification, which of the papers, so here we're looking at machine learning application in manufacturing and engineering. So as you can see, 24 of the papers that we review, we're looking at fault diagnosis. So they apply machine learning in fault diagnosis. I'm going to look in the paper, you will see what specifically they were doing in fault diagnosis. But this is giving you how the classification ended. So this will let us know what has been done, where are they doing the work, and where that we need to do more work also. So you can do a simple classification task like this. Pick the study, research focus, the method, key findings, what gap that you identify. So all these can be easy for your readers to understand. So after you've done a comprehensive, so this one you are looking at all the papers, trying to point out gaps that exist in those papers. You can also do what we call meta-analysis. That is a quantitative sensitization approach also that people do. And they talk about, they extract the numerical data. We've talked about that, the mean, where we look at, we plot and see maybe which country, all those things. You can do all those analysis also if you want to do them also. And then interpretation and discussion. So you need to interpret it. Don't just give us the tables and leave it there. Don't give up the plots and leave it there. Discuss. Interpret your finding. Discuss. Compare. Contrast. Remember that there are other papers that have done literature review in your area. So make sure that your review is more comprehensive than what they've done, or it covers more wider area or deeper look into. For example, I looked at the paper and the researchers only just did classification algorithms in certain area. So if they did classification, I'm doing both classification, regression, and clustering, opening the gap. So very important for you to draw your conclusion. Then you summarize your findings. and address your research questions. Let us know how you have answered your research questions. So if your research question one was, what are the popular or most frequently used machine learning algorithms in education predictive analysis? At the end, in your results discussion, you should be able to let us know how you have answered that question. And then what's the answer? Very important. Then you go to what? Recommendations and the rest. Any question, please? So no question. Let's look at some of the common challenges. Sorry, question? Feel free to talk.
No, sir. Let's proceed, sir.
Okay, thank you. So let's look at some of the possible challenges or common challenges in systematic literature review. One is that if you are not careful, you will define a scope that is too broad or too narrow. Like, for example, somebody said only classification algorithm in some area. It's to me, it is too narrow. Why only classification? Why not classification and regression? But be careful not to add so many also. So somebody can say classification, regression, classroom, and everything. So it shouldn't be too broad, neither should it be too narrowed. Why? Because you want to give a comprehensive summary of the scope of work in that particular area to your readers. Then, two, managing large number of articles effectively. My advice, never manage systematic literature review articles or references using manual management. No. Never. Always use reference managers to keep track. And last but not the least, avoid bias in study selection. Don't intentionally select your own papers or select papers of your friends. Remember that systematic literature review, as we said, is reproducible. It is transparent. So therefore, make sure that whatever you are doing is transparent. Whatever you are doing is reproducible. Okay, let me share a screen with you on one of my papers in Manly and see how I did organize that. Share with you Manly. Where's Manly? This paper I'm looking for, it was the first literature review I ever did under the supervision of Professor Dekoya. It was part of my PhD work, and I'm looking for it. Yep, do I have it here? Yes. You see, look at my screen. Do you see how I organize all the papers? I organize all the papers in respective years because I was working with a lot of papers. 265 papers. In that particular publication, the papers that we review were over 250. If you look at the paper I shared with you. And managing these 250, how do I do it? So after going through all the papers, reviewing them, I decided to put the papers into years. That will help me. And I counted all of them again. Even though when I select this, Mendeley automatically give me the number of papers. Look at down here. You will see the number of papers indicated here, 24. But I'll count all of them again because I want to be sure. So managing your references is very important. Make sure you organize your document very well. And also, always check the features that has been extracted for you by Mendeley. Sometimes some of the features are not what they seems to be, because remember that this is extracted automatically. So most of the times when I'm done, what I try to do is to ensure that these features are accurate and they are not, yeah, I've seen cases where Mendeley will give you a reference, you put a paper in there, it extracts the reference for you, and some of the informations are wrong. Remember that your readers and your supervisors and your reviewers are not going to blame Mendeley. Mendeley is a tool. You are doing the work. So you have to go over it again, be sure again, and confirm that everything is okay. So most of the times when I load my papers, it takes me days to arrange all these, go through each of them one after the other, make sure that the DOI is correct, very important. If the DOI is not correct, I'll go back to the website again where the paper was downloaded, copy the actual DOI, come and put in manually, refresh it to make sure that I have the right stuff. So always organize your papers, and all the research I've done, always I organize my papers. So I still have all the papers organized in my what? Manually folder. At any point in time, I can come in and check and confirm. Okay, so I'm going to end here and I'm going to allow for questions to come in. So I'll open the floor for questions. If you have any question, feel free, put it in the chat. Unmute your mic and then.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, Prof. Thank you very much for your presentation. We are so much grateful for giving us the opportunity. I have one question to ask that has got to do with extraction of some details from various papers. If, for example, I want to extract the objectives, I want to know the kind of data size that a particular paper has presented, so that I can use table in further maybe categorizing all those items from the paper. Is there any automatic way I can do that without doing it manually?
Thank you. That's a nice question and a very tricky one, of course. So the easy way you can do it is to use these Gen AI models, right? So I've shared with you, if you go to the GitHub repository, I've shared with you some tools that you can use to make your work more easier. A list of tools, each stage, tools that can help you to do your work. So the easy way you can do that is, for example, if you are using Mendeley, the easy way you can do is to pose a question to the Mendeley AI. Open the document and then pose a question to the Mendeley AI and ask the AI to look through the paper and tell you specifically what was the objective of the paper, what is the data size that they used. You can ask those questions and it will extract it for you. Then you can copy it into your Excel. But when it does the extraction, I always say confirm it. Some reviewers are very they pay attention to every small details. So when you extract with Mendeley and you don't confirm, they'll point it back at you in your work. They will tell you that you stated this thing here. He has gone to look at that paper and it's not that. And probably you don't know who is going to review your paper. Maybe it's my paper you are talking and I'm a reviewer for the journal you don't know. So Immediately I see my reference, I say, no, I didn't do this. So you can use this Gen AI to help you, but always please make it a habit to manually verify them before you send it. You know, I see a lot of people these days, a lot of people use these AI tools to write articles, and some of the references are fake. Some of the DOIs they provide are fake. You click on the DOI and then it says article cannot be found. So when I see 1, 2, 3 in your work, I open my eye very well because I know that there's something fishy. So you can use the tools, but always please own the work, go over it again, and confirm whatever you want to put out there. Remember that whatever you put out there will be tagged to your name forever. Your children, your grandchildren, everybody will come and see it. So make sure you are proud of what you have put out there. And if you do a good, when I mean a good literature review, your paper will be cited from all over the walls of this earth, if it is a good one. Okay, I guess I answered it.
Yes, please, perfectly.
Thank you. Yep, next, anybody with a question, please feel free. It's questions time. Okay. You can also put your question in the chat if you want. So there is a task for us all. Please, today when I came, I didn't see anybody showing me the task I gave to complete. In fact, I don't know if somebody did completed it, but probably joined late. I'm going to give you 30 more minutes of today's time. And what I want you to do is, based on your topic, select 50 papers. 50. Don't just select only the 50. Maybe download a maximum of 100. And of this 100, run through all the skills we have learned in the inclusion, exclusion, quality assessment, and select a minimum of 50. Remember that for a normal journal paper these days, reference minimum is 50. If you are doing a systematic literature review, you can use 50. Unless the area that you are researching is a gray area. But for systematic literature review, something from 100, 150 is good. When you do that, no reviewer will ask you to add more papers to your work. Remember that, look at the work, look at how tedious it is to extract all these data, to analyze all, and then you go and then they tell you that the number of papers you have used is what? Less. Add at least 20. Remember that all these new papers is going to influence the whole thing that you have done. It's going to set you back again. So I tell people, hey, make sure this place, nobody has anything to say. So 150 less in my reference. You can't tell me to add more. If you tell me to add more, I'll go and add those that are literature review. So I will not need to change my analysis again because I have 150 that I've what? Scrutinized. And it's very, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of time to scrutinize these papers, to find a missing point and point it out there in your work. When you are done with your literature review, at least you must point out not less than about 6 or 7 gaps that can lead to further studies. And once you do that, everybody will be looking for your paper, because I want to quickly reference your paper and say that, oh, based on this systematic literature review that was done here, the authors using approximately 150 papers pointed out that more work needs to be done, blah, 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 blah. So this paper focuses, I want to use you to, start my work. So if you do a good job, people will cite your work. People will read your work, and they will use your work to build their case. So go and download more than 50. Go through the screening process. screen them, and select the 50, only 50, and extract data out of it. You can extract the data that you want to extract, the features that you want to extract. You can use Excel to extract them. Then do some basic analysis. If you know how to use pivot in Excel, you can do some basic plots with pivot in Excel, and then present to us, hopefully, on Friday before we start the bibliometric. So Friday, we'll look at bibliometric. I will only go ahead to teach the bibliometric if I see that people have turned in their work. So if I come on Friday and I don't have anybody who have turned in their work, I'm sorry, I will tell Professor Dekoya that the students don't want to do the assignments that I'm giving out. So I feel like they are not doing their part of what? The agreement. And therefore, I will not be able to come Friday. So please go and do it, do your analysis, come back. Let's use some few minutes to discuss what is going on. And I'm going to share for you a link that is going to give you most of my recorded videos, a few of them in YouTube that might help you if you want to you go over any of maybe something that I said. I have a few playlists. Let me see if I can get it for you here. Yeah. I'm coming. Give me some few minutes. Let me give you this. I don't know. But if you have any question, please feel free to talk about it. Okay, so this is a quick one here. You can get some of the videos. You can go, these videos are recorded videos. Some of the workshop I earlier did with other institutions, I recorded some little videos on YouTube to help them recap some of the things we did. So you can visit these links and then watch some of them. So I will end here for today. And my last words to everybody is that systematic literature review ensure transparency, reproducibility, and rigor in what? Research synthesis. It is, as you can see, if you look at all the outline, inclusion, exclusion, quality assessment that we've done, it is truly rigorous. And you can see that it is transparent. Whatever we are doing, we have documented it, and therefore it is reproducible. It is reproducible. Then it also remember that formulating a clear research question is essential for a well-structured review. If your research question is ambiguous, if your research question is clear, it's not clear, you cannot what? Structure your paper and your steps. And also a systematic search strategy, as you can see where we use the Boolean operators, truncation, and synonyms, helps retrieve relevant what? Study. We want to tell everybody that we were not biased in the papers that we selected. We didn't sit down and we just went out there to pick some friends' papers to analyze. But we gave opportunity. We threw our net widely spread with different Boolean operators to ensure that we have several paper coverage. Then remember the Prisma framework. It provides a structured approach to screening and selecting high quality studies. The Prisma, as we explained on Monday, gives a flow chart of how the papers, where the papers were downloaded from, how they were screened, how they were declared as eligible, and how they were included in the study. Then also quality assessment too. As you see today, we propose a quality assessment, went through all the papers to ensure that all these papers meet the quality standard. When it comes to data extraction and synthesizing, thematic analysis, meta-analysis, coding frameworks, all these ensure meaningful conclusion. And remember, all these are part of your methodology. And then addressing bias limitations. So if you think that, so for example, if you think that in your study you use only Scopus, it is a limitation. So you have to say that the limitation of this study is a single database was used. Yeah. Once you use a single database, there's a tendency for bias. Because if the paper is not published in Scopus, it means that it's not published in Elsevier, it means that it won't be counted in your work. So you have to point out all these things. So one, define a clear inclusion and exclusion criteria. Very important. Use multiple database. And as I've said, the best thing to use is if you use Google Scholar, it gives you or it connects you to multiple database. Document every step. Document every step. Maintain a search log. The first search engine, the first search, if you search in Google Scholar, I show you how you can save. And all the keywords you use will be part of the saving. The next, if you make modification to the keywords, you save that one differently. You make modification, you save it differently. So the final search strategy that you use. And if you want, you can add those parts that maybe 3 different search approach or 3 different search stages was conducted. The first one used blah, 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 and we resulted in this what? Number of document. We will then refine it to this, then refine it to this. This is the final search strategy that was used. So all these are very important. And also visualize findings. The Prisma diagram will tell us how you sorted your papers, which papers were dropped. Synthesize tables. You remember I used tables, thematic maps to present data efficiently. And also critically analyze the study. Go beyond the summary. Don't just summarize for us. Identify the trend. What are the challenges? What are the research gaps? In fact, a systematic literature review that does not point out research gaps is not a systematic literature review. At the end of the day, your paper should point out gaps that people can take it on for further studies. Ensure consistency and objectivity. Apply consistent criteria and avoid selective bias in your selection. And also follow reporting guidelines like Prisma, systematic literature review. The Prisma is well-known, accepted guidelines. Follow it. And the final tip for you is what? Systematic literature review is an iterative process. So it doesn't mean that when I start from the source of downloading papers, I'll not go back there. No. If I review, say, apply my criteria, and I think that my papers are not enough, I'll go back to what? The initial stage. So refine your search scope, update searches, and validate findings for what? A robust and impactful review papers. Thank you all for coming, and then see you again, hopefully on Friday for the final session. That is the Bibliometric literature review. Take your time and read all this publication. These papers are all literature reviews that I've done, and they will give you more details, more ways of classifying your papers, and more ways to analyze them and then look into them. Thank you for your time, and thank you for joining. Professor Adekoya, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We are very grateful.
Yeah.
Professor Inti, thank you very much for the wonderful lecture. It is my hope that everyone who participated today enjoyed your lecture, and we hope that the participants will not disappoint you on Friday. They will turn in their assignment or homework. I encourage you to try to do it so that we'll be able to see your strength and your weaknesses, and we'll be able to make inputs and contribute to your development when it comes to research wise. So once again, please, if you have not completed the attendance list, kindly help us to complete it. And then we see you on Friday. Prof, thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
We hope to see you once again on Friday.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, bye. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Bye.
Thank you, Prof. Bye.